What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today's video is going to be on the Detroit Pistons, and we're going to be talking about how this organization just won the 2022 NBA draft, and we're going to jump right into the video. First thing we're going to do is jump into the original pick of the Detroit Pistons. In this year's draft lottery, they hit for the 5th overall pick, and with the Sacramento Kings taking Keegan Murray with the 4th overall pick, this left Jaden Ivey right on the draft board for the Detroit Pistons, and this is exactly who they went with, and I love this selection. Now, when we look at the Detroit Pistons, the way that their roster is currently constructed, I think Jaden Ivey is good enough to come in and immediately be the second best player in this backcourt behind Cade Cunningham, and I think he's going to make the Detroit Pistons a lot better. And we look at his college career at Purdue, what Jaden Ivey was known for was his elite athleticism, elite speed, elite quick first step. He could jump off 1 foot or jump off 2 feet. When it came to athleticism, Jaden Ivey had it all. But what sets him apart from all the other guards in the country and all the other guards in his draft class is his ability to control his speed and control his tempo. And he knows when to switch gears, like when he's in transition or when he gets the rebound, he knows to push the ball full head of steam. And then when we watch him in the half court, he's a good enough basketball player to switch up his speeds. Maybe he might slow down, get the defense napping, and then use that quick first step. So he's really good at using that to his advantage, and it makes him very unstoppable. Even when defenders know he's going to try to blow right past them, nothing they can do. And then also, his game doesn't stop there. He can run the pick and roll, and when he gets downhill towards the rim, he's great. Can finish with both hands. He can contort his body to make very acrobatic finishes. And then our favorite part about him is that he can go up and punch it over anybody. And then one of the bigger concerns with Jaden Ivey is his three-point shooting. But one thing I want to point out is growth and evolution. We look at Jaden Ivey, his freshman year, he shot around 25% from the three-point line. We fast forward to his most recent year, his sophomore year, and he was able to raise that 10%. And he shot 35% from the three-point line. So this shows that he's working on his game and he has the will to get better at things that he's lacking. And then also, it's not like he has a bad shot or bad shot mechanics. He has range and he knocks down open shots, and I think it's something that he's going to continue to get more consistent and more better at. So I'm not really worried about him being that bad of a three-point shooter. And then we look at how he will actually fit with the Detroit Pistons, and I think he's going to be something that they really need. And a lot of people worry about him fitting with Cade Cunningham, but I think Cade is good enough to play without the basketball, and I think Jaden Ivey has the IQ and the skill set to become a basketball player that can play without the ball in his hands. So, and then also, I think it's very important for a team like the Detroit Pistons to have, and not just the Pistons, but really every team in the NBA, it's very important to have that secondary ball handler. And not only do the Pistons have that, but they have another dynamic player. And not only can Jaden Ivey just create dynamic plays for himself, but he can also be dynamic for others around him, whether it's in transition, whether it's in the pick and roll, whether he's on the ISO. So I really like this pickup for the Detroit Pistons, and he has an elite offensive game, and then he has some crazy potential on defense with the lateral quickness that he possesses, and then he has a 6'10" wingspan, so he's going to be able to guard a bunch of different guys out on the perimeter. And I think defense is just going to have to be a mindset thing with him, and he lock in, he's going to be a lockdown defender. So I'm really happy with this pick for my Detroit Pistons. And then they just didn't stop there. Now, this is where the Detroit Pistons won the 2022 NBA draft, and this is where I give Troy Weaver and the Detroit Pistons front office a round of applause, because the trade that they just pulled off was very special. And we look at the deal that they just made. It was a 3-team deal that went down between the Pistons, the Knicks, and the Charlotte Hornets. And to make it simple, the Detroit Pistons shipped off a first round 2025 draft pick, and they exchanged the 13th pick in this year's draft that turned out to be Jalen Duren, and then they also gained Kemba Walker as well. So I think this was a very great trade for the Detroit Pistons, and I think Jalen Duren is going to be a great player on this squad. And we look at the big man and we look at his physicalities. He's 6'11", 250 pounds, 7'5" wingspan, and he can jump with the best bigs in the league. So we got a guy with size, strength, and athleticism. And I think what the Detroit Pistons are going to love him for the most is what he can do on the defensive side of the ball. I thought that's where he was the strongest at, and he's a good offensive player too, but I think his versatility on defense makes him special. Now, I love the way he protects the rim, and then I also love the way he can guard the pick and roll. He's very disruptive on lob attempts, and then he also gets in the way of bounce passes. That's where that long wingspan comes into play. And then also, whenever he has to switch, he showed the ability to make life hard for smaller players and often force them into a difficult shot. So Jalen Duren, great on the defensive side of the ball, and he's going to give the Detroit Pistons some much needed versatility. And then we look at him offensively, and I think Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, all the playmakers on this team, I think they're going to love playing with Jalen Duren. We look at him offensively, he's a real low post threat. Once he gets inside that restricted area, or once he gets under the rim, it's a guaranteed finish. And then also, what you gotta like about his game is his rebounding. Now, he can finish through contact, and then he can also rebound through contact. And he just has a knack for those offensive rebounds and getting those putbacks. He shot around 70% under the rim in college, and his offensive game doesn't stop there. He can also step out in that mid-range and knock down some shots. So he's really like a traditional old school big man, play two ways, have low post game, and he can knock down that midi. So I'm really liking this pick for the Detroit Pistons, and I think he's going to fit in well. And then also, they were able to get Kemba Walker in this process. Now, what I like about picking up Kemba Walker is the Pistons have a lot of flexibility with him. They can buy him out of his contract and let him go to whatever team he wants to go to, or they can let him play up into the trade deadline and trade him away then, or they could just use him as a valuable veteran in this league. Kemba Walker was once one of the best point guards in the NBA, and I think he has a lot of knowledge to share with these young Detroit Pistons, and I still think he could provide some valuable minutes in the NBA. So I think the Detroit Pistons, I think they have a lot of flexibility when it comes to him. And then, so other than that, and we look at these two draft picks, Jaden Ivey, and we look at Jalen Duren, and we look at the core that we're adding these two guys to. If you're a Detroit Pistons fan, you have to be happy because I think we already had a very special core with Cade Cunningham, with Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes showing flashes towards the end of the season, Marvin Bagley resparking his career, Isaiah Stewart, Isaiah Livers. This team is just full of young, hungry NBA players, and now we add two more special guys to it. And this is just the draft. This is just the draft season. We still have free agency coming up, and the Detroit Pistons have some money that they can throw to a couple of guys. We know our big target right now is DeAndre Ayton. You got Jalen Brunson out there. So there's a bunch of guys, so many possibilities for the Detroit Pistons offseason, and I think they're already off to a great start, and this is just the beginning. And that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.